through federalism in Ethiopia. And EPRDF, which has been in power over the last 27 years, did not in that sense bring about true democracy, true federalism in Ethiopia. So that is why all the 27 years we had over the last years is full of demonstration, full of struggle. Some of them are even violent struggles to the extent of taking lives and property. That is why there was a very strong need for change. So this strong need for change, the pressure comes from outside, and the youth, the farmers, the urban dwellers, and every stakeholder was strongly in need of this change to have genuine, inclusive, democratic federalism in Ethiopia. That is why the Prosperity Party was born. So Prosperity Party is essentially born out of the limitations and problems that we had in EPRDF over the last 27 years. So it's a rebranded new party which is inclusive of all nationalities and peoples, and thinking of bringing holistic prosperity in the lives of human beings in such a way that the political, economic, and social needs of human beings can be fulfilled through democratic, inclusive governance, political governance. That's how Prosperity Party was born. So to say this, in terms of conceiving the concept of Prosperity Party, you have to think of fulfilling holistic needs of human beings, and bringing about genuine federalism in Ethiopia. The federalism that we had in Ethiopia under the rule of EPRDF over the last 27 years is a pseudo-federalism, a false federalism that you can see on papers and on media, that you can never test it practically on the ground. And changing this pseudo-federalism into practical federalism that citizens can test is one of the most important causes behind the establishment of Prosperity Party. If you see, Ethiopia is a country of complex diversity. Understanding this complex diversity is very important so that we can have stable country, stable political economic system. EPRDF did not understand this complexity of our diversity. So the federalism that we have on paper, that we have in the constitution over the last 27 years is there on the paper, but practically it was not there in terms of the day-to-day practices of our political governance, administrative activities. The very important pillars of the federalism, which are the self-rule and the shared rule, were both absent practically in the Ethiopian political governance arena. The self-rule concept that we had in the constitution was already taken by the interventionist behavior of the EPRDF government, where they had representatives and also people who are administering the daily affairs of regional governments on behalf of the TPLF, were totally hampering the self-rule concept of our federalism. So we can't say the federalism that we had on constitution over the last 27 years was practically being implemented. It was not there. There was no self-rule among the regional governments.
Okay, Doctor, sorry for the interruption.
Yeah.
You've said the Prosperity Party is designated aiming at addressing and entertaining a true federalism in Ethiopia.
Yes.
But there are people and parties, especially ethnic-based or ethnic-oriented parties, are criticizing Prosperity as if it is going to erode and erase the federalism, which is inclined to ethnic, actually. They are saying that. What is your answer for those people? The so-called TPLF, which is a very dominant political and economic entity in Ethiopian politics, is orchestrating by being with other ethnic-based parties, as if Prosperity is designated to halt or to erode ethnic federalism or geographical federalism, whatever it is. You can answer that.
Yeah, one of the serious challenges that we have seen in the establishment of Prosperity Party is a baseless false propaganda that does not in any way reflect what really Prosperity Party is and what Prosperity Party is aiming for. Prosperity Party very deeply understands the complex diversity that we have in Ethiopia. One of the diversity areas is the ethnic diversity that we have in Ethiopia. Ethiopia is a home for more than 80 nationalities and peoples. And any party, even in the future, that doesn't understand the complex ethnic diversity of this country cannot even lead for a week. So Prosperity Party, more than any party in Ethiopia, scientifically and practically understands what diversity we have in Ethiopia. And in black and white, as we stated it in our bylaws and in our party programs, nationalities and peoples in Ethiopia will be adequately recognized and adequately participate and benefit from the political and economic activities of Ethiopia, even without touching a penny from their self-rule authority or autonomy. So giving regional states autonomy, political and economic autonomy within the jurisdictions provided, and also providing the sufficient space in the federal government in terms of bringing them to the front so that they can politically and economically participate and benefit from, is a number one and the biggest pillar of Prosperity Party. There is no any mechanism that the people can lose the political achievements that they have already gained in the Constitution. It's granted in the Constitution that nationalities and peoples are provided recognition and given the room for participation and the room for benefit. The problem in EPRDF over the last 27 years is these things are there on the paper, but practically you don't see them. Prosperity Party will change these things in practice so that people can see what federalism is in terms of ethnic autonomy, self-administration, political, self-governance, and economic participation and benefit in real terms, not in pseudo or paper-based declarations.
Great. EPRDF used to, televise through medias as if it is the pointer of democracy and true federalism in Ethiopia, right? Can you put, your demarcation in terms of differences between EPRDF and Prosperity?
Yes, true. Number one, we have a lot of very clear demarcations, or I can say departures from Prosperity Party. Number one, as I said earlier, is Prosperity Party, unlike the TPLF regime, works towards a true and genuine federalism. This is number one departure. We don't declare federalism on papers or on media. We push federalism so that it can be practically implemented in such a way that people can test what federalism is in terms of political economy and in terms of political and economic participation and benefit as a self-rule and as a shared rule elements of the federalism. This is number one departure. Practical federalism, inclusive federalism that citizens can testify. This is number one. Number two is making politics inclusive and participatory is very important departure. If you see, for instance, TPLF over the last 27 years and TPLF ruled EPRDF, the politics was not inclusive. The politics was not inclusive in the sense that the most important segment of the society was excluded from the politics. If you see, EPRDF is a coalition of four parties, the Oromo Democratic Organization and the Amhara National Movement and the Southern Nationalities and People's Democratic Front movement, and TPLF itself, which is the architect of the EPRDF, I can say. These are, parties that can represent only few segments of the society, which means the most important part of the society, particularly who are, essential elements of the state building, are clearly excluded from the party formation. For instance, the people of Benishangul were totally excluded. The people of Gambela, Afar, Somali, and Harari were totally excluded from the EPRDF system. So we can say the state building, particularly the state building and transforming the political system of this country did not adequately accommodate these important segments of the society, which are very, very important in terms of their strategic location. That is why one of the departures is Prosperity Party embraces all segments of the society, regardless of their economic orientation, regardless of their geographic space, regardless of any demographic orientation. So it is inclusive of all segments of the society. This is number one. Number two, departure. The second one is the ideological clarity issue. Ideologically, Prosperity Party is a different party in terms of totally replacing revolutionary democracy with centrist and pragmatic party. It is centrist party, pragmatic party. The revolutionary democracy that has been in operation over the last 27 years is a bit Marxist-Leninist type of ideology.
A kind of left-wing.
Exactly, a kind of left-wing ideology that tries to categorize the society in terms of friend and enemy and tries to aggressively eliminate enemies, which does not help in terms of building an inclusive Ethiopia with complex diversity. That is why there were segments of the society that were categorized as less important, not important, even an enemy. Prosperity Party clearly replaces this very dangerous thinking with an inclusive, friendly, brotherhood attitude in terms of accommodating different segments of the society so that they can participate and benefit from the political activities. These are the very important issues. The other one is, building a very inclusive state, a very big political economy in East Africa is not possible if you segregate the society in terms of different ethnic groups and then form a party along ethnic lines. Ethiopia needs to accommodate two important things. One is nationalities and peoples should have self-rule and have their own jurisdiction in terms of political and economic activities. On the other hand, we have to build a great Ethiopia. That great Ethiopia, where people can have a big picture of the economic and political activities of citizens as Ethiopians, can be established if we have unified, strong party that accommodates different interests within the country and different interests within different segments of the society, so that we can have economically and politically strong Ethiopia and stable political system in the country. These are the departures that makes us different from the EPRDF system.
Good. Among the departures, one is ideological line, right? Yes. Can you put the ideological line of Prosperity Party?
Yes, definitely. Ideologically, Prosperity Party, we can say it is a centrist party. It's a centrist party. What does centrist party mean in terms of understanding the commonly known ideologies in the world? The commonly known ideologies in the world are either liberalism or socialism or social democracy and the like. When you adopt an ideology for a country, you have to clearly understand the practically existing political and economic and socio-psychological situation of a society. Taking these complexities into account, for Ethiopia, having 80 nationalities and peoples within its boundaries, and being a very complex, socially complex and politically complex state, selecting the commonly available ideologies for Ethiopian politics is very difficult. copying and pasting an existing ideology for Ethiopian situation is very difficult and impractical in that sense. That is why Prosperity Party is not purely liberal party, which 100% works for individual liberty, freedom, free market, less state intervention, and only individual freedom and free market, where liberalist philosophies are applied. This doesn't work for Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, the people are generally socially bonded societies who live together, who assist together in social and economic activities, and therefore pure copy-pasting of liberal ideology to Ethiopia doesn't practically work. And the second one is socialism. Socialism within the existing dynamic world ideological revolutions. Socialism doesn't fit the existing system, because in Ethiopia we need competition and cooperation. The balance between competition and cooperation is very important, so that the communist type of living system, political ideology, socialist type of political ideology that tries to eliminate private market, eliminate individual freedom, and also eliminate liberty of thinking and action, doesn't fit within the existing world level ideological setup and also within the existing practice in Ethiopia. That is why balancing socialism and liberalism and setting our political ideological line somewhere in between, practically and pragmatically, that can fit into the existing situation of Ethiopia is very important. That's why we are at the center, and we don't attach ourselves 100% to existing ideological demarcations, and we at the center try to practically solve the economic and political real life problems of citizens by selecting the best fit of the combinations between socialism and liberalism, which is a centrist party, pragmatic, practice-based, problem-based, citizen-based ideology that can solve human problems in a practical terms.
Thank you, Doctor. Prosperity Party has got a very unique symbol, you see, a symbol of Prosperity Party, which is unusual. We can mention other parties in Ethiopia, for instance, the Amhara parties, the Oromo parties, and others. The logos and the symbols has got affiliation with ethnicity or topography or land feature, whatever. In case of Prosperity, it's quite unique. Can you tell us the feature and what it exactly represents?
Yeah, definitely. If you see the logo of Prosperity Party, it's not as usual as we usually see from different parties. It's not a complex thing, you see. It's a very simple, understandable, and presentable type of logo. One, there are 3 people in the logo, 3 people, and they are human beings. Prosperity Party fundamentally is based on fulfilling the complex needs of human beings. The need for basic services, the need for liberty, the need for freedom, that means, and the need for equality of human beings. So everything Prosperity does, and it does it to fulfill the complex needs of human beings. That's why we see human beings there. We work for human beings. If our politics doesn't serve human beings, it's not politics. This is what the fundamental belief of Prosperity Party is. So that's why we see human beings there. The second one is, if you see, they are 3, and they are different in colors. Please, our viewers should understand, this difference in colors means a lot for Prosperity Party. It essentially declares that we are accommodative of diversity. Even though it is a color, it means For prosperity, it means we accommodate diversity. It may be ethnic diversity, cultural diversity, it may be religious diversity. Whatsoever diversity we have in Ethiopia, you are in, and we can accommodate. Is the idea, the reason behind this difference in colors. And if you see that people are joining their hands at the top, this is unity, brotherhood, togetherness, and our unity and togetherness is power, it means. These are the three fundamental pillars behind the logo, and which is clearly articulated in the party program and the party values and principles, clearly articulated. So we work for human beings, we accommodate diversity, and we join hands to signify power in unity, brotherhood, and togetherness.
I appreciate.
Yes.
Okay, EPRDF was dissolved in 2019, right?
Yes.
And it was succeeded by Prosperity Party. True. But TPLF has declined to join Prosperity Party. What was the reason behind?
Yeah, particularly when this Prosperity Party was, the idea of reforming the party was on a very big agenda on table. As I said earlier, the fundamental reason is the very significant limitations in the existing practical performance of EPRDF over the last 27 years. There are political, economic mistakes that EPRDF has done over the last 27 years in terms of solving the political and economic problems of citizens in Ethiopia. This was very fundamentally evaluated. And the evaluation result shows that we are in a political crisis, we are in an economic crisis, and even though we have been in power over the last 27 years, we didn't practically solve the economic and political problems of our citizens, and therefore this is a time to stop and think of rebranding and reforming ourselves so that we can solve our citizens' problems and solve this state fragility problem that we are practically facing these days. This was a very fundamental evaluation that EPRDF Executive Committee has done, taking a very long time, maybe 17 days, in evaluation. This is a very fundamental breakthrough in reforming EPRDF. In this evaluation, almost all the parties who are a member of the EPRDF were convinced, and they literally admitted all the mistakes that have been done and also accepted to reform themselves. The only party in EPRDF which was very, very strongly opposing the rebranding and reforming of EPRDF into prosperity was TPLF. From the very beginning, they had been providing a lot of reasons left and right and rejecting to admit at least the mistakes that have been made over the last 27 years. The political mistakes and errors in human rights violations, the economic crimes including grand corruptions were almost not accepted by TPLF group, particularly the top leadership of the TPLF. This is, I think, because of the lust for power, the greed for power, that reforming may deny them the power that have been used over the last 27 years. And two, this may be again because of not to accept the crimes, the economic crimes that have been done by this group. And this is partly because of the rigid ideological setup that they have over the last 27 years. If you are immersed in revolutionary democracy, and then practically you will be rigid. Revolutionary democracy doesn't give you room for thinking and rethinking and looking at multiple angles of your problems. These are the reasons. And from the very beginning, TPLF was not happy with the evaluation results, with the idea for rebranding, and with the idea of coming to the Ethiopian people and requesting for apology. These are the reasons. That is why they were not practically with full heart, part and parcel of the rebranding and the political transformation program. That's why they later on changed it into destructive activities, destructive behaviors, including attempts of assassination and attempts of displacement of innocent citizens later on. I will explain that later.
Okay. Would you tell me the pillars of Prosperity Party?
Yeah, you know, Prosperity Party has a very, very big pillars. We can explain this in terms of political, economic, social, and foreign relations pillars. These are the four big pillars of Prosperity Party. In terms of politics, as we said earlier, Prosperity Party very strongly works to ensure a truly multi-ethnic, inclusive federalism in Ethiopia. Let me underline this, because people have a different question on this issue. A truly multi-ethnic, inclusive federalism in Ethiopia. That's fundamental pillar of political ideology or pillar of Prosperity Party. What does that mean? Politically, Prosperity Party understands that Ethiopia is a home for complex diversity, and therefore the political system that we are going to build is truly multi-ethnic federal system, which is practically inclusive, where people can fully participate and adequately benefit from the self-rule and the shared rule system of the federal administration. This is one political pillar. The second one is the economic one. The economy that Prosperity aspires to build is an inclusive, pragmatic, which is a capitalism, pragmatic capitalism, that is multi-sector economy, where people can see themselves in the economic participation and benefit. So it is a progressive capitalism which moves from a little bit state intervention to more and more private sector development, which later on shifts from government intervention to private sector-led economy. This is the issue. And at the beginning, we may see, because of the market failures that we practically observe in this country, we may see selective state intervention in very few economic sectors where the private market practically fails. Unless otherwise, the economy will practically shift towards the private sector so that the private sector can accommodate the economic activities of this country, and citizens are largely business-oriented citizens, which are largely middle-class society is ultimately created in Ethiopia. This is what Prosperity Party aspires for. And in terms of the social pillars of Prosperity Party, it aspires to build a society, healthy, educated society, which is rationally oriented, civilized citizens with a very strong, modern political culture. Educated, inclusive, healthy, and rational society will be created. This is how we are going to frame our health policy. This is how we are going to frame our education policy and cultural policy, so that we can have modern, rational, educated, healthy society, convenient for democratic system will be established. In terms of the foreign relations, Prosperity Party aspires for building, a very healthy foreign relations, healthy international relations with our neighboring countries by giving priority and very big attention for neighboring countries. So we see neighboring countries are very important strategic partners of Ethiopia. So we give priority to have a very healthy relationship, peaceful relationship with neighboring countries, and also administrative or economic integration and partnership with neighboring countries. That's why we see a highway road moving from Addis all the way to Kenya or Mombasa. We can build, we are going to build road network, railway networks, and air traffic connectivities with East African countries, which are our strategic neighbors. This is how the foreign relations aspect of Prosperity Party is framed. And we also work for our citizens' pride and respect, and mutual participation and mutual interests of countries are at the center of the foreign relations policy or ideology of Prosperity Party.
Okay, you've said Prosperity Party would truly entertain federalism.
Yes.
You've said you're not gonna, do the fake thing that EPRDF used to do, right? Sure. How would you entertain federalism, the true federalism?
You know, federalism essentially is not about, putting something on paper. You can write a federal constitution within a few days or weeks. You can do, a lot of paperwork in terms of issuing legislations, rules, and regulations. But what is practically important in terms of building a genuine federalism is practically giving room for people to participate or actively practice what is written down there in the Constitution. Federalism essentially has two things, two very important things. One is self-rule. Self-rule is an important pillar of federalism. So if regional jurisdictions are provided in the Constitution in clear terms, so these regional governments should have complete autonomy to exercise their functions, their duties and responsibilities as clearly stipulated in the Constitution, with no intervention from the central government. This should be practiced. All the regional governments we have, including even Addis Ababa and Redwa, which are city administrations, should have complete autonomy of self-governance, self-rule in their day-to-day political and economic activities. This is very important. The second one is the shared rule. If we are a federal government, at the federal level, there is a shared rule where the federal government and the regional governments can administer the political and economic affairs of the country jointly. So this joint administration is clearly articulated in the Constitution and the legislations which are provided after the Constitution. This should be practically used. EPRDF tried to break this by, for instance, taking up the functions or the autonomies which were provided to the regional government and exercising it at the federal level, which was unconstitutional. There are about 27 proclamations which were broken under the TPLF rule, which practically broke the federal arrangement.